Welcome everybody to Rad Pod and Chill. I'm Heidi Kuda. I'm here with Jim Stortson and High Fidelity. We have a weekly show where we investigate disinformation and interview people from all over the world. And on Thursday nights, we're just belligerent. Well, I don't think I'm usually belligerent.
Yes.
You guys are. Anyway,
I
luckily,
might be a little.
Luck- Luckily, off camera, HiFi debuted a joke that Jim and I immediately nixed, but he'll probably still try to figure out a way to uh, endanger our audience with his dark humor. Anyway,
I didn't know our red line was gagging sounds. I'm sorry.
oh my God, here we go. See, he always works. Jim, I mean, come on, so predictable. Yeah. So we like to on Thursday nights recap our episode. We don't assume all of our Thursday night viewers have seen everything. And this week we interviewed our dear friend Monique Kamara of Kremlin File and Eurofile. Her work is so important. She's a geopolitical analyst who lives in Italy and just keeps tabs on everything that's very important occurring in Ukraine and in Europe during these dire times. But I'd like to get a little domestic with you, gentlemen, and talk about some of the positive things that occurred on Tuesday. And I think we should start with Ohio because I understand it's the heart of it all. HiFi, can you give us a breakdown from Ohio?
A breakdown from Ohio. Well, despite the Ohio GOP attempting to alter the way that our Constitution is amended here in the state, which we all had to vote on in August, and we told the Ohio GOP to do unholy things to themselves.
How about just take a flying leap? You know what I'm saying? Like, how about something like
Yeah,
that?
they took a flying. Yeah, tell them to take a. Anyway, Ohio has voted for not only to protect women's rights, reproductive rights. Amen, hallelujah, pass the potatoes on that. But they also passed issue 2, which is the legalization of recreational marijuana in the state of Ohio. And I think that's great. Those are both wonderful, absolutely killer things, except there's one problem. Ask me what the problem is.
High Fidelity, what is the problem?
The problem is that the Ohio GOP has already started talking about
Yeah.
how they're going to get rid of this amendment
Yeah.
and how they're going to change the law with regards to the legalization of recreational marijuana in Ohio. Already, within days.
Hours.
I don't know what
Well,
this hours. What does this say to people about this authoritarian movement? They want to enforce minority rule. They don't want to play by the rules. They don't want to adhere to our laws.
Well, they're amoral and lawless, and we know that. And shout out to David Pepper, who I think is certainly the man of the week, if not the month, if not the year, because his work alerting everybody throughout the country with his diligent writing and video clips, whiteboard video clips, really has made such a huge difference. And so just a shout out to our wonderful frequent Rad Pod guest, David Pepper. Yes.
I think I am just going to say it right now. If the Ohio Democratic Party does not enlist Mr. Pepper to run for governor of Ohio, they are foolish beyond compare.
He said he'd do it. When we brought it up on Radpod, he was like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? So that's that should be an end for people. I have a lot of things I would like to talk about, but Jim, is there anything on your mind that you would like to start off with?
Yeah. I'm cranky. I'm very fucking cranky. I am not. I don't know. I celebrated on Tuesday.
Yeah.
And we should celebrate.
Yeah.
It's very important to celebrate our victories. Ruth Ben-Ghat tells us that. Others do. Also, another one we admire is Timothy Snyder, who says the first thing you have to do in a fascist takeover attempted is to not panic.
Yes.
So that's all great. We should not panic. We should celebrate our victories. However, I still cannot help. I wrote an article called "Winning Ahead of" called "Winning Poker,"
I saw that. Yeah.
which is like, yeah, okay, fuck yeah, we got a full house and we raked in a pot, and in the meantime, we're in the middle of the Pacific and we're about to drown because we're hitting a fucking iceberg, right? It's a version of fiddling on the deck of the Titanic, right? Or
Yeah.
being the deck chairs.
Yeah.
But you're engaged. It feels like a game. It feels like a victory. It feels like a win. But at the same time, we've got just tens of thousands of people being murdered in the Middle East. There's all kinds of on the debate last night, the Republican vice presidential candidates spent the entire time warmongering about Iran,
Yeah.
right? Oh, we have to go to war with Iran. Also, we have to, go boots on the ground in Israel. And all of, I support Israel. I am half Jewish, but it is unconscionable the way that this thing is being twisted out there by people, and it's very upsetting to me to see all this sort of chaos and division that's happening overseas be encouraged and scripted by people here. I need to say it one more time. What they're doing, when you heard DeSantis and Nikki Haley and all these people talking about we're going to go to war with Iran, it's going to be amazing, right? Is because the Bible, or at least a very specific version of apocalyptic Christianity, says that the Christians, meaning us, America, the big Christian country, needs to go to Israel and protect them from Islam. That's literally the fiction that the oil and gas industry, by the way, has been promoting for 40 fucking years. Why the oil and gas industry? Because they want to make global warming good news. Literally, right? So I don't know, man. I see this fake politics out there.
Yeah.
This entirely performance art politics that's directing us towards a fucking conflict.
Yeah.
And so I, as a person, simply feel I'm having a hard time doing too much celebrating, because I worry that we're not keeping our eye on the ball and getting the thing that's making this country, destabilized and on the verge of, a serious problem.
Yes.
I just don't see attention to that.
So I am with David Pepper in that we do celebrate our victories for like an hour, and then we get right back into this trench warfare, because that's what it is in America today. I wanted to point something out, that Jill Stein announced that she's running for president in 2024 as a Green Party candidate, according to Axios. And Olga Lautman, who is Monique Kamara's partner in Kremlin File, wrote, "How did we get to the point that the majority of candidates running for election are Kremlin mouthpieces?" And she's right. How did we get there? Well, we got there largely by a feckless media that continues to cover this as if it's politics as normal, and it's not, which brings me to a Q&A that I just published with Paul Conroy, who was our guest a couple weeks ago.
Well, wait. Well, you can't go past Jill Stein, because
we'll go for it.
Just briefly, Jill Stein, I want to remind the audience, if you don't recall, was in fucking Moscow with Mike Flynn and a bunch of other Kremlin propagandists in December 2015. There they are together. I semi-jokingly asked Jill on the Zitters whether she closed the deal with Mike Flynn in Moscow, because
Did she respond?
no,
So
she's busy getting their shit ratioed out of her. It's comic. What the fuck?
yeah,
First of all, she stole millions of dollars from Hillary Clinton, like sad people who were
yes,
like, "What the fuck just happened?" I don't understand. That makes no goddamn sense. We're
right,
ahead,
right.
and it didn't make fucking
With
sense.
her
And then
audit.
Jill Stein rolls in and she's like, "I'm gonna do a recount," and she raised millions of dollars and nothing, like whoop, right into Jilly's pockets. So the first thing she needs to do is fucking explain the shit out of that. Go ahead, high five.
I just, in answer to Olu's question, I would posit that we are supposed to have defenses against this sort of thing, this foreign interference in our elections. There was Ellen Weintraub from the FEC just released a statement today about how, there's a two-tiered justice system at the FEC because, well, it's kind of hard to see, so I'm going to read it. Statement of reasons of Commissioner Ellen L. Weintraub, 58. The number of matters that have come before the Federal Election Commission containing allegations involving former President Trump, his committees, or his family members. 28. Number of those matters where the Commission's nonpartisan professional staff and the Office of General Counsel has recommended reason to believe that a violation occurred. 0. Number of times a Republican commissioner has voted to approve an OGC recommendation against Mr. Trump. The outcomes are no longer surprising. My colleagues purport to be treating the former president and the current president alike, but the data is clear. At the FEC, Mr. Trump is in a category by himself.
Yeah, there's a lot of that shit going around. A lot of double standardizing about a whole bunch of fucking stuff. That is for sure. Can we? We interrupted HiFi. I mean, not HiFi. You're HiFi. Heidi. You have the.
I need to continue that thought. I need to bring it around because I said we're supposed to have barriers. We're supposed to have things that protect us from this, like the FEC, like the FBI, like the CIA, right? There's all sorts of organizations that are supposed to be keeping America, our country, and our system safe. And we have obvious evidence of interference from Russia, monetarily, psychologically, etc. And yet, well, Charles McGonigal, who was the head of counterintelligence at the New York FBI, was working for Russia. So, yeah.
So Jim has company. Should we invite whoever it is on the show?
Yeah, come on in.
So thank you for that, HiFi. Yeah. And of course, one of the most, unprotected frontiers, of course, is our internet. So what I was going to say with the Q&A that I just published with Paul Conroy, which talks about all this stuff, is that he thinks that people got to start taking responsibility for the news that they ingest, and that he thinks it's about your sources. Journalists know that he can be trusted. It's not that difficult to find. This is a different report. We're going to get to that in a second. He doesn't think it's that difficult to find journalists that you can trust and go back to. And it's important not to be fooled and accept the first thing that pops up on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram. We've all been there where we thought something was real, like a statement from Trump. We find out it's not. We have to start taking more responsibility for ourselves and our intake of news. And I bring that up because I've been reading some of the reports in quote unquote news organizations or magazines that have been written about members of this team. And it's not real journalism. It's literally like so obvious to me with, decades of experience being a journalist that people lie by omission. The words that they use are to distract from what the real truth is, and the disparagement, borders on libel. And so I was hoping you guys might have advice for our viewers on how you know when somebody in journalism is a bad actor, and they might be at a major publication. And some of their work might be legit, but some of it is definitely designed to mislead people. And are there any tips that you guys have on how to spot it? I've got a few ideas, and lying by omission is one big one. It's what people don't say.
Nope, Jim, go ahead.
So I have some experience with this. My particular strategy is to just tell the truth and then see who gets mad about it.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Literally. I mean, and not everyone, can afford to do that, or, not that I can afford it, but
Yeah.
but not everybody is willing to spend, a long time kind of getting to the point where you can do that sort of thing. But that's, I don't know. What were you going to say, HiFi?
I like that. I like that.
For me, it's literally just about poking the bear.
Yeah.
And see, so, okay, briefly. What I've done many times is poke the bear, and then all of a sudden somebody over here to my right or my left that I didn't expect, claws me back. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't mention you. What the fuck are you talking about? Why are you
What's
up
up
in
with
my
that?
grill right now? It's literally the easiest way to figure out, who's a problem. So
Yeah.
I never, I never go on first or 10th or 20th impressions about people. I always give people the benefit of the doubt. However, when people are behaving in a way that is not explainable by sort of rational behavior,
Right.
rational thinking, right?
Yeah.
There are two possibilities. They're either wittingly doing, being intentionally deceptive, or they're just fucking brainwashed and or stupid. And so the brainwashed and or stupid ones you just want to leave alone because there's nothing you can do about that.
Right.
But the other category, the ones who are intentionally doing it, those are the vicious ones. Those are the smart ones. Those are the ones who have resources. They've been doing it for a long time. They've got allies. They've got trolls. They've got all kinds of shit to protect them. And those are the ones that are much more difficult to handle. So without getting into names and shit like that, if you just sort of look around in the disinformation, researcher community, you can see that there are people who have narratives to protect, to promote at all costs. And anyone who goes outside of that narrative is the enemy, not somebody that you disagree with, not somebody that you would like to have a discussion with and see if you can find the truth in between your 2 points of view, which is my favorite thing in the world to do.
Right.
But people who are simply there to ensure that everybody who does not fit their narrative is portrayed as, crazy or whatever the fuck they can think of.
Yeah. Right.
And that's the basic tactic I've found is, just who's being an asshole for no particular reason, right?
Great.
You know what I mean?
I do.
Who's like just obviously spinning shit in a certain way and not being honest about why.
Yeah.
Those are, I don't know.
Yeah. That's excellent. I bring it up because I was reading a report that somebody had written about Mike Flynn suing you. And the report continually said conspiracy theorist Jim Stewartson. Well, anybody who watches this show knows that Jim is not a conspiracy theorist. He's somebody who keeps meticulous receipts. Um, and it kept saying, and has zero evidence that, Mike Flynn, blah, blah. And I'm like, Mike Flynn has given all the evidence himself. Jim just happens to be the guy who's willing to frickin' document it. Mike Flynn did the cultic prayer in the church, which Jim documented. Mike Flynn took the AR-15 in the church and said, maybe I should go find people in Washington. LOL, not LOL. That wasn't funny. That was stochastic terrorism. And there's clip after clip after clip and receipts after receipts after receipts. And I'm like, clearly, this is not real journalism. And unfortunately, there's a byline, there's a publication associated with it. And, but for me, all it was controlled opposition to deflect from Mike Flynn. It's very easy for me to see it. I wish it were as easy for the rest of the world to see it. And as Jim said, those who claim to be experts about disinformation appear to have been put in place around 2016 to basically promote disinformation about the subjects that they're supposed to be experts on. And seems obvious to me. And it's a very, very dangerous game they're playing. And there's a long history of this in Soviet Russia, which will bring me to my next
Also,
point. But I'm sure HiFi would like to say something.
there's also the East Germans Zersitzung, which is about that Alex Alvarova actually brought up online.
Yes.
Amazing. And then Gal did a bunch more research on it, and it is exactly what they've been doing to all of us. It's designed to discourage, discredit, bring down, make somebody's life miserable, their personal relationships toxic, all of the same shit that we've been seeing over and over again. And the Stasi got it from the KGB, and we know where the KGB, where the KGB went right into the fucking Kremlin, right? That's literally what's in there now. Are the people who invented that stuff. They invented active measures. They invented psychological warfare, or didn't invent it, but that particular aspect of it. And so it's. I want to give a little bit of latitude to people who don't understand that it's not obvious, right? Because we've been around, right? I've been stewing in this shit for 39 months. I know all of these people, all of these actors. As soon as somebody says something, I can pretty much tell you why and what they're trying to accomplish. Most people don't have that. They don't have that level of experience, and they shouldn't. They have lives, they have kids, they have jobs, they have shit to do. And it's the responsibility of our fourth estate and our goddamn government.
I was thinking about
to
that.
explain it to people, and that is the biggest problem I have right now with all of this is the Biden administration and the press are unfucking willing to simply, see what's right in front of them. Is all the stuff we've been saying for years now. And, it's like they need to wait for it to come to some kind of insane, violent head before they're going to do anything about it.
I mean, I bring this up because I've been doing this for 7 years, and many of the same people started harming me in 2018 and really put in place earlier, 2017. And I'm tired, and we get no help from our government. And I've been a full-time, warrior on the front lines of the information war. And I really wish our government would be like, during the New Deal, they had programs set up, they helped writers. It's like, this is bigger than all of that right now. This is the minds of our neighbors and family members, and everywhere we look in America being thieved. And we could really use some support, and it's not forthcoming. And again, seems obvious to me because I've been doing this a long time and targeted a long time, but it still is, dark, dirty water, as Paul Conroy would say, and people need to start taking some responsibility. I wanted to bring up the piece I wrote about the dying men because that piece documents how, if you want to topple a democracy, you take over the courts. And I give all kinds of examples on how Putin did it in Russia, and how it was done in the Philippines, and how it was done in Hungary, which now has virtually no free press, and how it's done actually pretty quickly. And there's a great opening quote from a film I was watching, a Glenn Ford film. When a man becomes weak enough to accept a bribe, he's already a dying man. And so many of the people that we expose, took their variations of a bribe. They made their deals with the devils, and they thought it was going to work out and be okay, and they could maybe dabble, or I don't know exactly what they thought, but they're now owned, and we can see how badly they're owned because, they keep on doing Kremlin propaganda like 24/7. And again, take personal responsibility. Just because they're doing it wrapped in the flag and carrying the Bible and calling themselves patriots makes it no less Russian propaganda. And in fact, people who go around hugging the flag are mostly obvious to me, not patriots. Like, that's just not normal. But there's example after example in other countries, in Germany under Hitler, and we just got to, acknowledge the fact that it's here and it's been here for a while, and we're not special. We're not immune to it. As Ruth Ben-Ghiat always says, people still think it can't happen here and it won't happen to me. And yes, it can, and yes, it is. I had the pleasure of leading Byline Supplements news meeting yesterday where Ruth was a guest, and it was just an incredible conversation. We'll bring it to our viewers as soon as we can. It was recorded. But yes, it can happen here. And gotta just start having people take responsibility,
Can I give you an example?
Please. Thank you.
So there was an article today, and HiFi knows where I'm going.
Oh, yeah.
By
Oh, hi. Thanks for checking in. I'm still a piece of garbage.
Job, guys.
I wanted you to do it early. I wanted you
Nice
to get it done right off the bat. So
nice job.
I was there, but I forgot where my
It was
mouse
good.
was because I was.
It was good.
No, that worked out. It was
perfect. It was perfect.
All right. Yeah.
I believe what you're speaking of.
9 out of
This
10.
bullshit right here.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. This is
Peter
just LOL.
Thiel taking a break from democracy.
Before you go any further,
It's one of his many disappointments.
They did it on Robert Mercer over and over again, and then they would always have to amend it, going, "Oh, did we say he was taking a break? Well, he just gave $6 million to some PAC." And so this is like PR bullshittery. But please.
Okay, actually, Jim,
Jim go. Let Jim go.
Bro.
Go, Jim. Go, Jim. Go.
Real quick.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Barton Gellman. Let's start there. The guy who wrote this piece of shit, hagiography, like retread, like, oh, Peter Thiel's so sad and he's not going to be mean anymore and it's going to be great. Is written by Barton fucking Gellman. And Barton Gellman got famous because take this guy away. I don't know. He got okay. Barton Gellman was the guy who got classified information from Edward Snowden, which included military secrets from where? From the Defense Intelligence Agency, which was run by Michael T. Flynn. So Barton Gellman got classified fucking military information from Edward fucking Snowden, who I want to remind people is a fucking Russian citizen right now, a literal, actual Russian citizen. His kids are growing up in Russian school. You understand? That motherfucker who was talking to Snowden wrote not only this Peter Thiel monstrosity today, and I could not tell you how fucking sad and pathetic it is, but he also was a guy who took classified information from Snowden and then wrote last year an article which was like, oh, Mike Flynn is just crazy. He's just misunderstood, don't you see? Why is America so upset with Mike Flynn? He's just a wacko. He's just a wacky general. You put that one up. HiFi, you had that one. There we go. What happened to Mike Flynn? Oh, his skill connecting this dot detector kept spinning out of control because he's just crazy. Fuck. So the same dude, I want to just to wrap up, who took information from Mike Flynn's fucking classified servers from Russian citizen Edward Snowden and wrote a fucking bullshit article about Mike Flynn, about how he was just crazy and misunderstood, and wrote this bullshit about Peter fucking Thiel. So I don't know. Let me put it this way. At best, this dude is Maggie Haberman for traders, right? At best, he's like, ooh, there's a trader. Let me get hooked up with some of that trader business over here, right? It just seems to be a fucking pattern, and I am just furious with the Atlantic for publishing this bullshit, for Barton Gellman for whatever the hell is wrong with Barton Gellman. But Peter Thiel, and I will land my plane right here, is the Antichrist. If there's anyone on earth who is actually the fucking Antichrist, it's that dude that looks all super sad. I don't know who is that. It doesn't look like Peter Thiel. It looks like David Sachs or some. I don't even know. But it's just it's all. I'm sad. I'm Peter Thiel. I'm not. Peter Thiel set up an entire empire to profit from chaos, suffering, and death, and he has insinuated himself into the entire United States government. Barton Gellman, go fuck yourself with your botnik bullshit. Thank you for coming to my TED
Talk. Yeah, unfortunately, the Atlantic has been doing this of late, as have the Washington Post, and the Media and Democracy Project is continually having to rewrite bad headlines. And, you guys recall the recent softball article on Jim Jordan. There's been softball articles on creepy Mike Johnson Santos, who we would be remiss if we didn't mention some of the latest breakers on him. It's getting creepier. I mean, damn, the dean of the law school, that creepy Mike Johnson Santos was affiliated with, that never opened, the namesake of it has all these charges against him by young men for gnarly stuff. I don't even want to say it. And it was just so obvious the moment we saw him that all of these things would come out, and that's why they scrubbed his background. But not thoroughly enough. Yes, high fidelity. And please get rid of this. I don't want to see it either.
No, I need this here because you asked earlier, Heidi. You asked earlier, what do you look for in propaganda. All right. And one of the things I look at is, is there emotional manipulation in the article? Well, look at the fucking image
Mm-hmm.
that comes with the article. This soft pink glowy glow,
Mm-hmm.
a humbled man, contrite, penitent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's some emotional
Disappointed,
manipulation right
HiFi.
there.
He's so disappointed. Look, it says right there.
Yeah. Okay. So, and then there's other things I look for. There's other things I look for in the article. There's more emotional manipulation in this article. Peter Thiel cried when Trump called him a scumbag. Oh no.
What? Does it say that? I couldn't read the whole.
It does say that. I read the whole article. All right. And here's the other thing I look for in propaganda is if there is a blatant fucking lie.
That is funny though.
And there is a blatant fucking lie in this article.
Peter Thiel's never
Peter Thiel isn't giving any money. Peter Thiel isn't giving any money to 2024 candidates. We know that's a lie because we know where Vivek fucking Ramaswamy gets his money from Peter Thiel.
He did. He got $20 million fucking dollars from Peter Thiel.
So emotional manipulation 1, emotional manipulation 2, blatant fucking lie. I would call this propaganda.
Oh, absolutely. Of course. Yeah. I mean, they do the same to Elon Musk periodically. It's a publicist calling in a favor, working overtime to try to reputation wash these supervillains. I'm just going to read something that the Gawker managing editor in his final column, August 22nd, 2016, Nick Denton wrote after Peter Thiel killed Gawker. He called it a fitting conclusion to this experiment and what happens when you let journalists say what they really think. And he called freedom illusory. And so we've got Elon Musk killing Twitter in much the same way, death by 1,000 cuts. And so, go ahead and reputation wash these people at your own peril. But I will say, back to Paul Conroy, who's now covering his 19th war, he said that these Vatnik reporters are absolutely becoming caricatures of themselves. And he rattled off the list of reporters that are, in Vatnik soup. And it's true. It's like, again, we see it. We see it because we see what their messaging is. And their messaging is pro-Kremlin messaging. But I don't know. That's a heavy lift to reputation wash Peter Thiel of Rumble fame, of J.D. Vance fame. Yes.
He every single thing he has done his entire life has been in the project to dismantle liberal democracy, starting from he was a little pup. Guess why? Because Daddy's a Nazi. He grew up partly in apartheid, and Daddy comes from unknown parts where he disappeared in the 40s. I don't know what happened, but it appeared he ended up in apartheid, South Africa, which as did Elon Musk, as did David Sachs. When Daddy takes you to apartheid to live, Daddy's a Nazi, right? So there's a reason why all these guys that grow up in these fucking families, are doing what they're doing. Why Peter Thiel said out loud in print, freedom and democracy are incompatible. Think about that.
Well, I no longer believe that freedom and democracy are compatible.
Okay.
Same
I
thing.
no longer believe that freedom and democracy are compatible. He doesn't believe that they're compatible. So what does that tell you? It tells you that his project is to make sure democracy does not succeed. Because what has he done? He's built a bunch of companies, Palantir and the drone company and all these, all kinds of shit that are literally there to collect money the more the world goes down into flames. Palantir, its value shoots up every time there's war in the world. Shoots up when there's terrorism. Shoots up when the fucking military industrial complex gets a woody. Like Palantir gets all excited too because they're gonna go out there and sell some software and get some data on some libs. I mean, they've been collecting this data since 2008. Palantir was started, by the way, with money from the CIA in 2003. And Palantir went on to infest almost every single part of our government. That is the dirtiest secret in this whole thing. Why is Peter Thiel immune? The same reason Elon Musk is, because he's one of the biggest suppliers to the goddamn government. Like his private intelligence, his software, his all of his bullshit is there to collect value as the level of chaos, misery, and death goes up in the planet. So that tells you right there, who is this guy, and why is this other dude calling him disappointed? Why is he so disappointed in democracy?
I mean, you can set a clock to these articles. Robert Mercer, same thing. There was, Robert Mercer is sitting this one out, Meanwhile, I'm looking at a 2019 thread of mine, his money was being put through a Bolton super PAC. And then Bolton, the guy with the mustache, one of the first Cambridge Analytica dweebs. I don't know. I keep wanting to say Michael Bolton. That's not his name. Come on.
His name is John Bolton.
John. Okay. So
he was imagine John Bolton. Remember John? Like the craziest motherfucker on the right. They put that dude as ambassador to the UN so he could go in there and go like, I don't like the UN. This place is stupid. I don't like it.
I know.
Holy shit.
What was it? What was this Dr. Seuss character that he looked like? Was it the Lorax or something? He looked like a Dr. Seuss character. I think it might have been the Lorax.
Indeed, the Lorax.
But I would just laugh. I would just be like, oh, look, there's another article saying that, Robert Mercer is no longer involving himself. And meanwhile, here's $10 million being funneled through a John Bolton super PAC to fund and finance a bunch of psychotic, extremist candidates. So they don't tap out. That they actually can't. This is one of the things I was pointing out about my dying man report. It's like, you don't just dabble in a little light treason. You don't just dabble in, taking money from, dictator regimes. It's like, you're a made man then. I mean, look at Paul Manafort. Yeah. It's like, look at Roger Stone,
Yeah, once you're in there, you're fucking in there, man.
Yeah.
They get you with the little stuff and they gradually pull you in.
45,000 here, $500,000 there, a kidnapping there, suddenly your whole family's talking over here, talking bullshit.
Stolen classified documents and hacked Russian emails. I mean,
yeah, man.
Fucking hard, right?
Yeah.
I mean, how obvious can this shit be?
I don't know.
The timeline is all super clear. We've laid the shit all out. We know who bad people are. And we cannot do jack shit about it. We can't even get Donald Trump in fucking prison.
Working on it. Marty's convinced he's going to prison. So
okay, great.
Yeah.
3 fucking years later. It's not even. I mean, he's not going to go. It's going to be 4-5 years before he goes to prison, if he does.
I was thinking on Tuesday how it's been such a diabolical plot to turn people into single issue voters over abortion. Like, I thought that really was some mean trick, right? And then how many years later, one bridge too far, the overturning of Roe, and it's like people are not going to be voting for their super shitty policies anymore. So their choices are coups, staged horror events. Like it has to be this ugly because people do not want what these guys are selling. They are in a shrinking minority of extremists. Mike Johnson is a perfect example. Creepy guy, creepy stuff following him around. You know, I mean, I do think we're days away from like whatever blackmail they have on him leaking because it's just, it's not good, it's not good. Nothing good is happening over there. So,
Can I just point something out real fast? We know that individuals in this network, if you've been listening to Lawyers, Guns, and Money,
Which
Jack
you
Ryan's
should.
podcast,
so
There you go.
good.
For the
So
low
good.
price of whatever the price is right now, you should go buy it.
So,
which we don't know,
yeah,
but it's worth it.
$8.99 last time I checked.
All right. So we know that people in the Republican Party, to get Jimmy Carter out of office, were willing to put Americans at risk in the Iranian hostage crisis, right? We know that Vladimir Putin bombed his own people in '99 and blamed it on Chechnya and started a war to rise to power. We know that Erdogan threw a fake coup to solidify power for himself. We know that Netanyahu was warned about the October 7th attack and did nothing
Right.
to solidify power, which will backfire on him. The problem is these people who have gone to this length of extremism, they are willing to kill their own citizens to maintain power. Look at Assad, for instance. The question is, how many Americans will have to die before people get it?
Well, that's why we do this work, isn't it? I mean, that's why we do it. That's precisely the reason.
It's
You know,
a race. It's a race. It's a
It's
race
a race.
between people like us and whoever else, and
Yeah.
being able to get enough attention to this stuff and
Yeah.
put enough pressure on people about it, and their ability to execute their plan, which is literally to create a theocracy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not hidden. I mean, Mike
No.
Johnson, let me be clear about Mike Johnson. Yes, he's a wacky little man, and he's got his accountability buddies, and he's fucking weird, and God knows what's up with his little nester and all that shit. But at his core, the problem with Mike Johnson is that he does not follow the Constitution. He cannot follow the Constitution.
Yeah.
It is against his religion to follow the Constitution. The Constitution says we cannot be a theocracy, and his mandate from the 7 mountains, where he is on the government mountain, that's one of the mountains, his job is to climb the mountain, right? Literally. 7 mountains dominionism is about identifying mountains and then climbing up the mountains with your operatives so that you can fucking take it over and turn it into a Christian thing. So his job is to climb up the government mountain and make us a theocracy, not just be pro-life or whatever. To turn us into a Christian nation, which means we aren't a nation, we're a dictatorship. We're ruled by magical thinking and the people who choose to decipher it however they want to decipher it, right? That's the problem with theocracies. It's not based on reality. I'm sorry. based on faith, based on whatever you happen to believe. That ain't has the jack shit with what I have to believe. And so, you know, yes, there's all these other peccadillos and whatnot that we can, you know, see with Mike Johnson. But when you fit Mike Johnson, which is to make us a Christian country, why? To effectuate the end times, right? Mix that in with what's happening in the Middle East, which is literally these assholes scripting us into the end times, where the Christians are going to come in and save the Jews from the Islam, and then the Christians take it over, and then Jesus comes down. And everybody dies except for the special people. That's what the fuck they're doing. That's what this little shrew, this little fucking accountability dork is up to. Is trying to literally create a performance of the fucking made up end times. So I guess just make fun of them all day, but at the end of this, Mike Johnson believes in his little head that millions and millions and millions and millions of people have to die.
Yeah.
Soon. He believes that in his head, that he has to make people die because that's what it says in the fucking Bible.
It says a lot of things in the Bible, and you know.
I know.
And so
they're cherry picking stuff out of there for whatever their shit is. What a conspiracy theory made up by the oil and gas industry. Really?
I hear this and I just think how terribly un-American. Like everything that we fought for and stood for has nothing to do with what these people believe. It's extremist.
The first 10 words in the Bill of Rights are the Establishment Clause. There's a reason they're the first 10 words.
Yeah.
It's because the Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion. It's easy to remember. Very easy.
So
and he is the top congressperson, where they make the laws that they were talking about in the first 10 words of the Bill of Rights. He's the guy who's going to decide what gets passed, it's insane. We need to start getting real about what, how hardcore this is coming for us.
Yeah. Take responsibility, yo. So it's very important to this team here that we don't let the war in Ukraine fall off what Paul Conroy calls the news cliff of death, and that we keep it front and center, and that we doggedly support the people of Ukraine, and we demand our leaders to support the people in Ukraine. And I asked Paul, since he's been in Ukraine documenting the war for 2 years, to tell us from his point of view what this war is about. And he said, quite simply, Vladimir Putin, from whatever kind of psychotic universe he exists in, it's an old-fashioned land grab and attempted extermination. Doesn't have to get more complicated than that. So very important that we continue to focus on what we can do to help people in Ukraine. And that brings us to episode 73, Monique Kamara. She came on to talk about how we need truth and unity, how we have to understand psychological disarmament, and how we all better take some personal responsibility for understanding what the fuck is going on in media, in the world, and, don't want a baby no more. It's like, this is real. We do this work because we'd like to have everybody understand active measures and what's happening before the bombs drop here. So do you mind showing the first clip of Monique, please?
I can talk about Italy because I know in Austria, Germany, France, Spain, this is the narrative that they use, because for them, it went back to the 1950s, as I said, where they actively took over Okay, they weaponized cultural diplomacy. That's what they ended up doing in those years. They did it in the States, by the way. They managed to get the Americans to disarm on their part while the Russians went forward. They signed a treaty, but it was all bogus because they went forward with their program anyway.
Yeah, she's talking about not trusting Russia's treaties right there.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing: like in the 70s and 80s, right? Especially in the 70s, there was a lot of real work going on, and yes, there was a KGB, and it was a Cold War, and it was dirty fucking shit. But there were, by and large, people who were trying to do the right thing, and Reagan came in and just blew the whole fucking thing up. It started rattling his cages about Star Wars, which is a whole thing, by the way. If people don't understand how big a deal Star Wars was and how much the Russians were pushing that shit, how much, because Reagan was pushing for Star Wars because the Russians were gonna nuke us over here, and that became a whole component of a lot of the weird propaganda and psyops that were going on in the 80s. Elizabeth Clare Prophet, who you may know from such hits as "I am freeborn, I shall remain freeborn," was a huge proponent of that stuff, of Reagan, and of the laser beams in the sky that are going to protect us from the Russian boom, right? It's all part of that same sort of apocalyptic, mythology that we've been talking about.
Well, that brings that's a perfect place to show our final Monique clip.
I knew it would be.
And I want to say one more thing from photojournalist Paul Conroy. Get political. Make it clear that we need to see this through. He said Ukraine can't fight a war looking in both directions, behind them to see if we're coming to help and ahead of them to fight the enemy. Get political. Make it known that you don't want to back down in your support, and we don't want to either. So
yeah, I mean, I would only build on that by saying we're kind of post politics, right? It's not political, like, go to the front of your grocery store with some petitions. It does, it's like, at this point, it's fucking warfare out there.
Yeah.
Find ways to make an actual difference.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
A real serious difference. Even if it's just by helping to shape the narrative towards the truth. Yes. We are in a battle where there's a narrative.
Yes.
And there's the bullshit that they want us to think, right? And then there's the truth that we could see in front of our eyes. It's not some lit fantasy I'm just talking about reality.
Oh, yes.
Wherever we can just push on that shit. It's like tug of war, right? All of us have to get in there. I don't care how weak and scrawny you are. You might be that last person that helps pull it, right? So
yes, no, that's really great. I do have one last thing, Jim. You just made me think about it, and I think it's really important. The difference between photojournalism and people who post horrifying pictures on social media, which Paul sees as their job is to shock people and to make you pick a side. It's part of the hot psychological war, as opposed to the nuanced and very important work of photojournalism. So I just wanted to throw that out there. It's part of this Paul Conroy Q&A, but just take responsibility, yo, and what Jim just said, and what Monique's about to say, and what HiFi's thinking.
He is thinking.
Here's what
He's thinking hard.
I want to have the last word. I know. I usually have the last word.
Well, Monique's going to have the last word, and that's going to take us out, right? But we are in a war, and it's not just a war in the United States. I think it's very obvious. It's a war around the globe. As Monique said, it's Spain, France, Italy. It was going on in Poland, right? We know it's in Belarus, Hungary, Serbia. It's everywhere. And there's a huge criminal component that we're up against. And that criminal component, this is where it's important. That criminal component has to launder their dirty money into a clean system to get it into our political system.
Yeah.
And, in this clip, Monique talks about why we really need to think about why Crimea is Ukraine.
If we all widen the lens, look at the geographic position of the Black Sea and Crimea. That is at the mouth of a whole area. That's a whole sea lane that goes down, okay, to where we're seeing now. Let's see, you would have to go through the Suez Canal, and then you're basically looking at Israel and Egypt. Okay, it's at the mouth of Egypt. So that's a whole sea lane there. And that's what a lot of people, whenever you look at these things, look at it geographically to understand the importance. Another thing too, in the north part of the Crimea, the north part of the Black Sea, that's controlled now by the Russians. But the Black Sea is also an area where there is heightened criminal activity because of trafficking, human trafficking,
Yes.
drugs and arms.
Yes.
They control that, and they want to keep that. Okay, so let's remember, it's not just the Russians. We're talking Russian mob, okay, that control those sea lanes and not all of the imports, exports. And it's fundamental that that area goes back into Ukrainian hands.